Hello, I am going to go over with you lesson 10.3, which is about weight, customary weight. And I'm going to be doing some questions with you like we would normally do in the classroom. And except you're not going to be in the classroom, you're going to actually be at home. So I encourage you to get your red spiral out, just like we do in class. And I want you to take notes along with me as I go through the slides, just like we do in class. This way it'll prepare you when you do your Go Math video and you do your backside all by yourself. Okay, let's go ahead and begin. I'm going to share this screen with you so you can actually see my slides. So let's pick this one right here. Got that? All right, now what we're going to do is, let's see. I need to get me right here in the corner. I'm just gonna stick me over there on the side and let's go ahead and get started. All right. So our essential question is, how can you compare and convert customary units of weight? So we're going to be dealing with pounds, ounces, and tons. Now remember when we learned in class, anytime you go from a small unit to a large unit, you divide. So you take your hand and you go from small to a large, you divide, and from a large to a small, you're going to multiply. Okay, you're going to want to use that today when you go through these different questions. The same thing like we did when we did capacity and length. All right, let's begin. So this first question up here says we want to convert 15 pounds to ounces. So we need to think, which is bigger, pounds or ounces? So if you look over here in my units of weight, I can see that 1 whole pound equals 16 ounces. That tells me ounces are going to be smaller because it takes more of those to equal 1 whole pound. So if I'm going to go from pounds to ounces, I'm going to be going from a large to a small. Remember, large to a small, you multiply. So I'm going to multiply by taking my pen here. Now it's going to be a little bit different than in the classroom because I'm going to have to use my mouse to make this work. So let's go ahead and do 15. And we're going to multiply that times, let's look over here. We're going to want to multiply it by 16 ounces because that tells me how many ounces 1 pound is. And I'm wanting to know how many 15 will be. So you're going to do 15 times 16. And remember, you start out by multiplying your 6 times your 5. I'll switch my color. I know 6 times 5 is 30, so I'm going to carry the 3 and drop the 0. And then 6 times 1 group of 10 is 6, plus 3 more groups of 10 will be 9. So we have 9 groups of 10, which is why we have the value of 90. Now I'm going to remember, we always put down our spacer and use your eraser. So let's grab the eraser up here, and I'm going to erase it right there. All right, let's do this again. Now I'm going to pick a different color to multiply my tens place. Remember, we're done with the 6 now. 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 group of 10 times another group of 10 would be 1 times 1 is 1, and that has a value of 100. All right, so here we go. Let's add it up. 0 in my ones place. 9 plus 5 tens would be 14, so we're going to carry 1, drop 1. And 1 plus 1 in my hundreds is 2. So we would say that our ounces is going to be 240 ounces. And that makes sense because if it's 15 pounds, you're going to have a lot more ounces, aren't you? Because they're smaller. All right, let's go ahead and erase. Got to grab my eraser and erase this all down. And then we're going to make room here to do our next question. Okay, get your pencils ready. So our next question, we're going to convert 3 tons to pounds. Now I know that 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. So if I have 3 tons, I'm going to have a lot more pounds, aren't I? So let's think. We're going to go from a small or a large to a small because tons are a lot bigger. See, it proves it over here. All right, large to a small. So you take your arms and go large to a small. You need to multiply. And if I look up here, I see 2,000 is a value of pounds for 1 ton. So our expression should be 2,000 times what? If you said 3, you are right. Now again, I'm sorry for how my writing looks, but remember I'm writing with a mouse here, so it's a little difficult. All right, so we have 2,000 times 3, and I know if you look at your basic fact right there, I see 2 times 3 is 6, and then I just count up my zeros. 1, 2, 3, put them down, and your product, because we're multiplying, would be 6,000 pounds. That's a lot of pounds. That's about how much I'm going to feel when we're done with this quarantine, because I've been eating a lot since I've been home. All right, let's go ahead and erase this. And we're going to move on down here to our last question on this slide. This says 320 ounces equals how many pounds? All right, remember, we know ounces are smaller than pounds because we could prove that right up here. Remember how 16 ounces equal 1 whole pound? That means there's a lot of those to equal 1 big pound. So you know that these are smaller. So you're going to go from a small to a large, ounce to pound. When you go from small to large, you divide. So we're going to divide 320 by, look right here, do you see the 16? All right, so I'm going to grab a pen again. Let's do red this time. I'm going to take 320 ounces, and if I divide 320 ounces by 16 ounces, that'll tell me how many pounds it would equal. All right, so if I have 16, I know 16 can go into 32. I know twice. So I'm going to put a 2 right up above my 2. Put my little X there because we're not going to answer above the hundreds place. 2 times 16 I know is exactly 32. And if you weren't sure, you could always work it off to the side in your spiral. Okay, let's go ahead and subtract. 32 minus 32 is 0. And let's bring down this 0. Now we're going to go back and divide again. 16 cannot go into 0. So we're going to put a spacer up there. And when we multiply, there is no remainder left. So we would say the answer would be 20. So 320 ounces equals 20 whole pounds. All right. And that makes sense because this should be a smaller number because there's a lot more ounces per pound. All right, let's go to the next slide. The next slide says, explain how you can compare 11 pounds to 175 ounces if you try to do it mentally. Now, when I think mentally, I like to think about distributive property. Remember, distributive property is where you break apart one of your factors and you want to share the other factor to each of the parts. So let's go ahead and look and see how we're going to figure this out. I want to know which one's going to be greater or less. So you're going to compare the two. So if it says 11 pounds or 175 ounces, I think I'm going to take this 11 pounds and I'm going to convert it into only ounces. So let's see what I know. I know I have 16 ounces here as 1 pound. So let's go ahead and multiply 16 times 11. Now, if I do my distributive property and I want to break apart 11, I would break it apart into a 10 and a 0. So I'm going to break that up into 2 parts, a 10. So I'll do 16 times 10 and 16 times, you should have said 1. The reason why is because I'm breaking apart this 11 into a 10 and a 1. So I'm going to share that 16 with the 10 and the 1. Okay, now I can mentally do this. That's 160. And over here we have 16. Now if you do 160 plus 16 in your head, you should get 176. So which is greater, 11 pounds or 175 ounces? If you said 11 pounds, you're right. It's actually greater by just 1 ounce. And we proved it right here, 176 ounces. All right, let's go to our next slide. Now this is a multiple choice, so I want you to do your best to try to do this one on your own. So if you press pause and try it out in your spiral, then when we go over it together, you can check and see if you got it right on your own. Okay, let's go ahead and read it. It says, Carlos used 32 ounces of walnuts in a muffin recipe. How many pounds of walnuts did Carlos use? We know that he has 32 ounces of walnuts, and I do know that I'm looking for how many pounds would that be. I'm going from ounces to pounds, small to large. Think about what you need to do. Use this as a guide. All right, if you want to pause the video, you can and check. Okay, now if you paused it, let's check it together. If you didn't pause it, well, then you're just going to have to do it along with me, okay? All right, so I'm going to divide because you're going from small to a large. And when you go from small to large, you divide. So my expression is going to be 32 divided by, what do we see right here? 16. So how many groups of 16 can go into 32? And we know that would be 2. So I know that 2 pounds would equal 32 ounces. That answer does make sense, doesn't it? If you picked C, you were correct. Way to go. All right, so now let's try this one on your own. I have the little guide right here to remind you. If you go from a small to a large, you divide, and a large to a small, you multiply. So let's check. If I have 5 tons, and I want to know how many pounds that would be, we're going to go from tons to pounds. Is that small to large, or is that large to small? Think carefully. Use this as a guide. All right, you should have said, I'm going from a large, which is tons, to pounds, which are smaller. So which means we're going to have a lot more of the pounds, aren't we? There's going to be a lot more in that. There will be a bigger number. All right, so let's see. It's going to equal 5 tons, but we want to know how many pounds that is. So we're going to go from a large to a small. We multiply. All right, and let's look and see what we're going to multiply by. Let me grab a pen right here. Let's do purple this time. And I'm going to do 2,000. All right, so you should have done 5 times 2,000. Now, if you want to go ahead and pause it and quickly work it out, you can before I get to it, because it's taken me a while to write this out anyways. All right. All right, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say 5 times 2. That's my basic fact that I see. I know 5 times 2 is 10. And then you're just going to count up these other 3 zeros right there. And we're going to place them behind the 10. And we know we say cha, cha, cha. Put down your comma, and you have 10,000 pounds. Wow, 10,000 pounds is 5 tons. Okay, and you can just put that right there. All right, I hope you got that one right all on your own. If you are a total math rock star. All right, let's try another one. Now on this one, you're going to compare using greater than, less than, or equal to. Okay, we have 5 pounds on this side and 79 ounces on the other side. So you can choose. Can we convert this to just ounces? You can try that method. Or you can convert the ounces into pounds. So think, you're going to go from a small to a large. You divide. So if you're converting 79 ounces into pounds, you're going to divide for this side. But if you want to just change these 5 pounds to ounces, you're going to go from a small, or a large, I mean, because it's 5 pounds, to ounces, which are smaller. So you'll multiply. So you choose which method. Either way, you're going to get the same answer. So you can pause the video right now, work it out. I'm trusting that you're doing that. Don't wait for my answer. And let's see if we get the same answer, okay? I'll give you a few seconds to work it out. So go ahead and press pause in case you need more time. Okay, if you press pause, you're ready to check. Let's go ahead. I'm going to choose to convert my 5 pounds to ounces because I like to multiply better than divide. That's just who I am. But if you chose to divide, that's fine too. All right, I'm going to do 16 ounces, and I'm going to multiply it times 5 pounds, and that'll get me the number of ounces. And my goal is to compare it against the 79. All right, I'm going to take a different color. 6 times 5 is 30 in my ones. And 5 times 1 group of 10 is 5, plus 3 more is 8. So you should say that 5 pounds is the same thing as 80 ounces. Oh my goodness, look how close that is. That's not 800, by the way. It's just 80. That's just my little ounces. All right, so it's 80 ounces and 79 ounces. So 5 pounds is just 1 ounce greater. That was close, wasn't it? All right, let's go to the next one. 19 tons, and how many pounds would that equal? So your job is to convert your tons into pounds. Remember, tons are big, pounds are small. You're going to go from a large to a small, so you multiply. Okay, if you want to try it on your own, go ahead and press pause right now. Okay, if you press pause, you should be ready to check it with me. So I'm going to do 19 tons, and I know in 1 ton it equals 2,000 pounds. So I'm just going to say 19 times 2,000. That's what you should have done, because you're going to look for a lot of pounds if you have 19 tons. All right, let's see the basic fact that we know. I'm going to multiply 19 times 2. So I'm going to come over here and do 19 times 2. And if I look at this, I know it should equal 38. That's my basic fact. So I'm going to put 38 right here, and then don't forget our multiplication method where we have the zeros as our little trick. We're just going to add those 3 extra zeros after my 38 basic fact. Okay, so your product would be 38,000 pounds. That's what 19 tons equals. I hope you got that one right. All right, I'm going to do this last one, and then we're going to, you should be ready to do the Go Math video and to do the backside on your own. Okay, now I'm going to go from 16,000 pounds will equal how many tons? So I'm going to go from pounds to tons, small to large. Remember, a small to a large, you divide. So let's go ahead and see what we're dividing by. Wow, we're dividing by 2,000. Now don't freak out just because you have 2,000 as your divisor. You can still do this, okay? You're going to put 16,000 in your dividend spot. And let's make my divisor is 2,000. Now, sorry, it takes me a while to write this with a mouse. Okay, now let's look and see. How many groups of 2,000 can probably fit into 16,000? Okay, let's count by 2,000s. How about that? 2,000, 4,000, 6,000, 8,000, 10,000, 12,000, 14,000, 16,000. Do you see how I have 8 right here? Now, I know my product is 8. Okay, it's not 80, it's not 800, and it's not 8,000. And I know it's just only 8 because watch, can 2,000 go into 1? No. Can it just go into the number 16? No. Can it go into 160? No. Can it go into 1,600? Believe it or not, no, that's still smaller. So I know I'm going to start my quotient right there in the ones place. And I know 8 times 2 is 16. So that lets me know 8 times 2,000 would be 16,000. So you would say 16,000 pounds would just be 8 tons. And you can check with multiplication. 8 times 2,000 is 16,000. All right, so this is what we did today in class. So now you should be ready to do your homework video, and you're gonna submit your answers from the backside in the Google form that's on our Go Math or on my mathyoung.com website. All right, good luck. If you do need to keep practicing this before you do the submit the backside, go back and rewatch this video, okay? Just to make sure that you feel good about the topic of weight with customary weight. All right, miss you guys. Have a great night. Bye.